Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over, perhaps with all due respect to the others, one of the most interesting speakers we have here, because Mr. Craig Tsuji is actually a principal, so he's right there in the trenches with you guys. He's the principal of Ryerson Community School and of the Vocal Music Academy.
I probably don't even need this because I have a pretty loud voice. Yes, I am a principal, but I've been thinking about this for a couple different ways. As an Asian descent, I'm Japanese heritage, and I look at my life and my parents and how they brought us up, and the mental health that has been an issue in my family. A lot of the old school, the old world, is we kind of ignore it. We don't look at it. We don't talk about it. We push it aside. I came from, my dad had a black belt in judo, and you just worked harder, and it was about pride. It was about working hard and digging down deep within inside yourself, or suppressing it. But then we always believed that was a good character, good strengthened character. The new world and old world, parts of the old world of being more mindful, philosophical, taking time to actually enjoy something, look at it. And even now with mental health, we're saying you're so much is coming at you. Anxiety levels are going up, stress is going up. You have your parents, maybe, how many of you are new immigrants? Any new immigrants out there? Good. And how many are first generation Canadian? And how many maybe second generation? I find the first generation that's coming here, I grew up in a very Italian neighborhood, and they wanted their kids to go to work. And the pressure not to go to school and not to talk about your problems and just go to make money, that was my reality when I was a kid. But now yours is coming fast and furious, and you have so much coming at you because of technology. So I'm going to quickly go into the technology. The technology is your best asset, and it's going to hurt you the most. So you have a 50-50 here, because Google is only 12 years old. I find that you are so dependent on the technology and information, and it's good, but now you need to be able to discern from right and wrong. And these are the characteristics. We're talking about good mental health, characteristics about being a good person, and all the soft skills that they want you in the real world when you get out from university. They don't want just people that just get all A's. They want people that can work as a team, collaborate, and give them all different ways of looking at things. But if you're going to do that, and you don't create the soft skills, because I'm telling you right now, texting is the meanest thing I deal with every day. Texting, misinterpretation of information, how can you say that? And then people spiraling into depression and feeling bullied. I think bullying is probably the biggest term I deal with every single day. And to allow other people to do that, or to support it by doing it right back, which we're doing, we're texting right back, and it's very mean. So technology can be your greatest asset, or it's going to be one of your biggest nemesis when you grow up and into your world. And I don't know what that world's going to look like. It might be very great. It might be the best thing in the world. I don't know, but that's going to be for you to decide. I'm just hopefully getting old enough that I'll be getting out of it, or maybe just taking a lot of pictures on my iPad. And then, so then gets to the last part. I've seen a change in some cultures. You say, does the Asian wisdom and some of the philosophical thinkers, does that help us? Well, one of the things I know for a fact is, especially in the Asian culture, we held the elders as the people that had wisdom, calm. It's the people that you went to get advice and talk to you. And sorry about that. There's technology going off. I thought I turned it off. The problem is, like even in China, they're saying, and I have a lot of Chinese at my school at Ryerson, and I do run a Mandarin program. But we're finding that because in China that they're only allowed to have one child, and usually maybe a son, the culture is changing there. I don't know why this isn't turning off. The culture is changing that the elders are taking care of the one person that's their lifeline, all their heritage. And it's changing. And it's changing here in Toronto as well. So as I do navigate that, because I have a lot of elderly parents that are raising little kids, and all they want to do is play with technology, and the grandparents have no understanding of it completely. So you do have a challenge. You can decide whether to make it bigger or make it better or slow it down. I think you need to think about that. And I myself believe the thing that's going to change your life is, yes, talking about it, then doing something about it, and not suppressing it, because I don't think the old way of suppressing it is good. But you need to do something about it. And I was talking to the Sheriff, Mr. Abdullah. The one thing that we know for sure is there's 4 things that are the pillar of education. It's achievement, attitude, behavior, and attendance. And one thing impacts the most. Which one is it? Anyone want to do a shout out? What impacts? Attitude, behavior, attendance, and achievement. Which is the most important thing for your achievement?
Yes,
Sorry?
Somebody there.
Attitude. That's what I hear a lot. I hear it from my teachers. I hear it from everybody. But just think about it. When you achieve, you feel better about what you're doing. When you achieve, your behavior changes. When you achieve, you actually, if you're working, you want to go to work. If you're working on something, you want to finish it because you feel good about what you're doing. You're actually feeling like you're. So what takes you out of like a lot of the, I think, that makes kids feel better and changes their stars, especially in an inner city school, which I'm at, as you achieve through school and you get choice and you're feeling better about yourself, you channel that energy into achievement, and you will have a really good coping strategy. Not to deny the problems that are happening, but I see the kids that put their energy towards what their passion, it really helps them. Whatever it is, achieving at anything. It's not just academics. I'm going to end there.
Thank you. I'd like to invite now Mr. Kirk Mark, who's the Senior Coordinator of Community Relations at the Toronto Catholic District School Board.
Thank you very much, and good welcome. First, I'll be very brief because I know we're on the tight timelines. I'd like to give thanks and praise to our Aboriginal communities on whose land we stand, because they've given us much so that we can prosper. We know that if we're not one of the 500-plus Aboriginal communities in the Americas, our ancestors had to come from somewhere, which meant that somebody had to be displaced. And we must always keep our Aboriginal communities' voices foremost in mind when we're having any kinds of conversation within this land. When we talk about Asian wisdom and thought, what comes to mind is this. We have done many things in curriculum. We have done many things in schooling. We have done many things in education over a number of years. We have tried to incorporate a number of things. But we know right now our educational system is primarily Eurocentric, and that we're moving slowly to a more global-centric perspective of living. So that when we look at Asian traditions and wisdoms, we know that there's lots to offer. We know when we talk about relevance in schools, having strategies to de-stress, like some of the strategies based on the teachings and some of the exercises we did today, are excellent opportunities where people, students, as well as staff, can engage in helping themselves to move forward. Those are practical things. Now, we haven't enshrined it in curriculum, but there are pockets where individuals in schools do engage in these types of practices as part of their routine. When we're looking at curriculum, we know that if students don't see themselves reflected in the curriculum, they would sometimes conclude that they don't belong as part of the society. And so what we have right now is a move to look at culturally relevant and responsive pedagogy, which incorporates the many different types of mindset into the curriculum. And that is part of where the Ministry of Education is coming from when it looks at Ontario's equity and inclusive education strategy, specifically the area of focus, inclusive curriculum and assessment practices. When we look at some of the outcomes in generating student achievement and well-being, we know that if students are not well, they cannot perform. Mental and physical wellness is important. So yes, some of these strategies in terms of looking at Asian wisdom and practices are very helpful. Not only that, it also affirms the being of the student who may come from the Asian diaspora within the system, which also promotes positive self-image and identity. That's important because a student no doubt comes with the whole package, and they come with many components of that package which have to be recognized. We also understand that students don't come to the table as empty vessels, that they do have capital, lots of capital. And those, from the Asian diaspora do bring capital, albeit that it may not be fully tapped as a conduit and a leverage to learning. And I think that needs to be underscored. And when we look at technology, it's your asset or your biggest liability. Depends on the side of the coin you wish to choose. But I always say that within the context that, it's never what people say or do to you, but how you respond. And some of that teaching is no doubt derived from some of the Asian traditions and customs. Very similar in nature to some of the African traditions and customs. And I think Justin and I Ashley and I were having this conversation earlier on. And the last thing I would say, in closing, is that, part of the tradition, part of the custom, part of the way of being in terms of creating the mindset is understanding fully well that thoughts in mind reproduces after its kind. And if you have a negative thought in mind, you know that as a farmer, if you plant corn in the spring, come August and harvest time, you're not going to get wheat. So it's no good just throwing your hands up in the air and say, oh my God, why is this happening to me? When you have planted something but expecting something different. And if you try to keep two ideas in mind, we have a term called schizophrenia for that. And I'll leave it at that.